Hey there and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a review on the Glossier Skin Tint and the Stretch Concealer. I finally put in my first order with Glossier and I'm actually so excited to be bringing you this video because I was actually surprised by how I felt about these products. In this video, I will be demoing both products as well as sharing my final thoughts. Now, before we jump in, I do feel it's important to mention that I have dry skin, and the only thing I have on the skin right now is moisturizer. So I picked up the Perfecting Skin Tint in the shade G4, and I was nervous because this is definitely the first foundation or base product that I've ever ordered online, just like going in blind. But I think I did a really good job in picking out the shade. Like I said, this is G4. So I'm just shaking it up. And I, just like the directions say, I really like applying it with my fingers. I do this even with more full coverage products, but especially lighter coverage. So I just got it on my fingers, and I'm going to start in the center of the face. Just kind of carefully smooth it out here. Alright, so now that I have the product distributed on my face, I'm just going to press it into the skin. I think this helps with the stickiness that I know a lot of people say that they're bothered by when it comes to using the skin tint. I'm going to take the bottom of my sponge and very lightly go over the whole face. Alright, so this is how we're looking with just the skin tint. Now we're going to go into the Stretch Concealer in G5. So you saw that I took 2 layers and I basically used the first layer and swiped it across all of the dark areas under my eyes. And then I took that second layer and really concentrated it more in the center here, always patting it out in the end. Now I'm going to take my sponge, again very lightly blend out more of the edges than right up in this under eye area. Alright, so this is what I'm looking like with just the skin tint and the Stretch Concealer. Now, I haven't tried the concealer a whole lot, but so far the powder that I like with it the best is the Rimmel Stay Matte powder. And the way that I apply it is by using the Real Techniques setting brush, swirling it around in there, taking off the excess, and just pressing it. Totally forgot to conceal my upper lip area. I think that's actually a good sign. It shows me that the skin tint did more for me than how I had been treating it previously. Back into that Stay Matte powder and just setting where I conceal it here. You can see the powder doesn't take away the luminosity of the concealer, which I really like. Alright, so this is what the face is looking like with the skin tint, the Stretch Concealer, and the Stay Matte powder to set the concealer. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of my makeup, and then I will jump back on here to give you my final thoughts on the skin tint and the Stretch Concealer. Alright, here's the completed look, and I actually really like how this look turned out. So, as far as my final thoughts on the product, starting with the skin tint. So, I expected that I wasn't going to like the skin tint at all, just based on what everybody said, how it just has literally no coverage or whatever. I don't know, I just thought that I would put it on my skin and feel like nothing happened and be ultimately disappointed. But I ultimately decided to take the leap of faith because I have a few foundation products in my collection that are on the sheerer side that I've ended up being pleasantly surprised at how my skin looked after I used it. Now, I've been going through a lot of texture issues, especially recently. My skin has been super dry, and I've found that if I actually lean on the light medium side of coverage, it's not as obvious, and I think it's because it's not as obvious that I'm trying to hide it, if that makes sense. So that was a really long-winded way of me saying I really enjoy the skin tint. This is perfect for the everyday type of makeup look. Granted, I didn't do a wear test because I already know this is not the type of product that's meant to last 12 hours. But I will say after 6 hours, it looked much better than I was expecting. Also, it just doesn't really build up past that light coverage levels. So if you're looking for a product that builds up to full coverage, then this just isn't the product for you. Now, the Stretch Concealer. I have mixed feelings because I noticed that most people were ordering the same shade in concealer as they did with the skin tint. I didn't do that because, and I don't even think I said what shade I got in the concealer. I used G5, so it was a shade lighter than the skin tint. I got a shade lighter because I wanted to use it as a highlighter shade. I have a lot of darkness under the eyes, and On camera, it doesn't look that bad, but in real life, you can tell it doesn't do the greatest job of covering up that darkness. I almost wish I either just got the same shade as my skin tint shade, or that I got both. That way I had one shade that is my skin tone and another shade that is more of a highlighter shade. Typically when I do my makeup, I use those two different colors of concealers for those purposes. But overall, I really like the stretch concealer. It's definitely something I have to get used to. I'm not used to a more emollient concealer. I do have dry skin, but I tend to go for concealers that are on the matte side because I do have fine lines, and using a little bit of a matte concealer and setting it just enough, I find has really helped me under the eyes. Now with this, I do appreciate how much more natural it looks. I find it at the end of the day, sometimes when I use a full coverage concealer, it can just not be looking great by the end of the day. I also love the ease of application with this concealer. I've recently started to apply more concealers with my fingers, and this one is perfect for that. Also, this concealer does a great job of layering, which definitely not all concealers are good at. So overall, I think that if you're looking to try out Glossier's skin tint or concealer, definitely give it a shot. I was able to get a discount code, and I shopped through someone else's, I think it was like a brand ambassador's page, and I ended up saving like $12 off of my order, plus I got free shipping, so I ended up only paying about $35 for the set of both the skin tint and the concealer. I know that Glossier is considered to be on the pricier side, but you definitely save a lot of money when you buy sets. So that wraps up my thoughts on the skin tint and the stretch concealer. I definitely want to know your thoughts if you've tried these products, or just what you thought of how they looked on my skin or how they look right now. I know that now that I'm happy with the products I've gotten from Glossier, I think I want to go back and try the Future Dew as well as their Milky Jelly Cleanser and their exfoliator. If I'm being 100% honest, the other makeup products I go back and forth on. It's like I want to try them, but then I feel like I already have things that are like them. Oh, actually I forgot to mention the cloud paint is pretty tempting. But anyways, thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you're staying safe and happy. Bye.